Hello everyone, welcome back to my place in the sun, my little corner of the internet where I share things that bring me joy. And this is the second time I'm recording this video, as apparently I didn't realize that at first time when I thought that I am setting things up, I was recording, and when I thought that I was recording, I stopped recording. So it happened, so this video might be a bit of a mess, but this is another segment of 52 weeks of tarot, my tarot practice for 2026, where every week I explore a one tarot deck and give it a light on a scene for the week. It's not the only deck that I am using, but it's a one that has a majority of my time. And as I have no idea what I was saying in that previous intro, as it was recorded a few days ago, let's hope the best. So July was a little bit weird month when it comes to my practice because of me also traveling, so some changes of plan, but also because of certain things that were happening, certain like processes that I was going through, and also a real struggle about like getting in new information, watching videos, and also not wanting to be in front of the computer. That's why it takes me a lot of time to make this video. It's going to be uploaded also very late, and apparently now I'm also have to re-record the intro because of certain issues. So I will be moving now to the first deck, which was already recorded before, so hopefully it makes sense when I put it together. Thank you. For some reason I had my camera just shutting down. So coming back to the first deck that I use in the first week of July, this is Eldritch Overload Tarot, and this is something that is one of my comfort decks, something that I reach for when I really need to come back to myself and relax and find joy, as it's touching on the topics that are really present in my life. So RPG games, fantasy, books, movies, and it's something that you can sit with and let it tell you a story. Also, it has multiple layers. It has amazing guidebook in which you have additional questions that you can go deeper into the topic, but also a story behind each card, so you can digest it and see for the parts that you can work with. So it's not only like gimmicky deck in which you just play with certain theme, but it can be really deep tool for working with your shadows or digesting certain topics, etc. So this is something that also really match with my mood. So I don't know if you can relate to it, but sometimes I'm in the mood for something so specific that it almost doesn't make sense almost to anyone else, because I had this very strong feeling for pink sci-fi, whatever that means. I don't know myself, to be honest, but the deck really fit into this need. A lot of colors here is like different shades of pink, but also purples and blues, so they're quite close. But also I've been playing a game on Switch called Wavetales, and that also meet with my pink sci-fi mood. Not something heavy, not like a heavy sci-fi that has a lot of topics of that. This one is actually not referring to, because this is quite political in a sense. There's a lot of political themes in this deck, but sometimes sci-fi can be on more heavy side, and I'm also not like extremely sci-fi person. I do like certain elements of it, but when it starts to be battleships in the universe and wars and stuff like that, I really do not enjoy it. But certain topic of more like dystopian sci-fi or imaginary planets that and exploring those planets and life on them, this is a bit more my realm. So Wavetales were really working for that, and so I really enjoy it, and I need my pink sci-fi need. So this is a deck that I've been using a lot, and it's also, I still did with it like some deeper work, but it was also good for me to have this moment of comfort and coming back to something that is well known to me, something that I can really rely on in those moments. And I did pair it with Fablemaker's Deck of Many Things, so also something that is RPG related, D&D related. Can be used as an actual Deck of Many Things for a campaign, which we do use, but also this one can be used as an oracle. And it has colorful cards, but also the cards in black and gray, and those refer to the otherworld and underworld version of the card, with different meanings, with different things to explore, with different effects if we are using it as a deck of many things. So they do work very well together. This was a very shiny mix. It has a lot of, here maybe it's harder to notice, but this is holographic version, and this has also this hollow foil that catches the light. So it is also a bling bling magpie kind of combo that really sparks joy. So that was the first week with my pink sci-fi moods, and then we were moving to a deck by creator that I do really love, and I have currently all her decks. It's Linda Hill, and this is Red Threads Tarot. I cannot show a lot of cards from it because all her decks are very nudity heavy, and I really love it about them, but as we know, YouTube is not such a huge fan of it currently. So this deck goes into a theme of myth of Ariadne and the labyrinth, and we explore this story through different perspectives, also different elements to Minoan culture. I do really use it a lot in the time of like, let's say, late spring, early summer. It has for me this really out there extravert energy, but also because this deck very often speaks to me about relationships. How do you see yourselves in the others, how others influence you, also exploring the labyrinth itself, and a lot of natural labyrinths made in grass you can only visit really in certain seasons when it's fully covered. So that's also why I think this theme very fits for me in the summertime. And I really love it as a working with stories, my own stories. What do I tell myself, about the world, about the relationships, where I am placed in this whole world. And the guidebook is really amazing. I highly recommend guidebooks from Linda Hill. She's going really in a lot of detail, in a lot of research. She's having a parts about certain element of the myth, but also what is the essence of the message of the card. Different quotes then also can really touch the soul, and sometimes just that one quote can be for me like a message coming out of the deck. So it is absolutely always a beautiful experience. And as I have all of the decks, I tend to spread them into different seasons. This is, like I said, late spring, whole summer kind of situation. And then Red Seas, which is about Persephone. I usually use it within autumn time, maybe early spring, where the Persephone's energy is much stronger. And then the new one, which is Red Stones, that I didn't really use much yet, but it has much stronger like winter time energy for me, when you can really sit, explore, and really go deep into learning, but also contemplation, as it has a very strong Jungian alchemical theme. This one feels much lighter. I do read them also a lot with the guidebooks. I like using guidebooks with this one. At this point, I can read it also without, but I think the whole thing about those decks is really looking into those guidebooks and digesting them, and picking the parts that really resonate with you at this moment. Because one day it's gonna be one part of the message, on the other day it might be completely different sentence. So this is very working deck, very evolving deck, and it really matches and meets me where I am. So I was with it using another of Linda Hill's deck. Is her Oracle a red Seeds Oracle. I do have all 3 versions mixed with some cards taken out. So normally this is a really huge deck, but like I said, there is a lot of nudity, so it is much harder to find cards that you can show. But it is also having this really easy way to explore it, as we have one sentence that we can go into here, which could be kind of affirmation style sentence, and then over here we have quotation by a different let's say writer, as we have Rumi, we have Marion Woodman, and we have one more person, which right now is Sappho. So, and then we are going into the what kind of deity, goddess figure is touched upon in this card, and something that I very much like using is the challenge and the gift, where we can explore deeper certain topics around that person, their myth, and it works for me the best when it comes to this like exploring of my emotional world and what is happening within me kind of a deck. I try a few of them, and this is the one that really sticks the most and works the best for me. So this has been the second week when I went into the labyrinth and explore where it's gonna take me and can I find my center within it. And then I got a new deck and I really wanted to play with it, so I just moved around my whole schedule, which lately starts causing a lot of problem. Since when I was planning it, I was planning with the decks that I have in my collection and the decks that I knew that are gonna arrive from Kickstarter campaigns, and I did not take into consideration like any new things that are coming. So now lately I've been shuffling a lot my decks to make sure that I can use what I want to use during this practice. So it's also matching what is currently grabbing my interest. So this is Lubanko Tarot. I managed to get this mass market version secondhand, and since it was such a good find, I got it and been wanting to work with it almost straight away. And I already know that this is the deck to which I want to come back and with which I want to play much more and explore its art one by one and go deeper and find my own meanings, because right now I was just trying to read it intuitively straight away. It's not always working very well, but this is something that I also had with a different deck that I'm going to show in this month. Look back, that at first they might not speak to me, and then if I sit really with the art, write down certain things, read the guidebook, look at different perspectives, it suddenly something clicks, and then the deck works very well for me. It still worked very well. It is just that it was not so like easy reading, but I think this one also wants you to slow down, to look at the details, look what's gonna move you. It feels very moody, especially with the colors. I think they're playing a lot into what kind of emotion and mood are we in that card. There's this very interesting what's it label, it's like shaky art style that also creates certain like motion and interest within the card, and for sure this is something that will be more often on my table. And when it comes to pairings, this is the one that had the most of them. Since it was something new, I got really excited about trying new things out and seeing what will work with it and what might not work with it. So maybe I will try to do this like that. So one of the decks, of course, this year really being used a lot is a Pathfinder deck, and that's something that really work well, as the art has a lot of detail. There is certain similarities, but at the same time it's a little bit less chaotic, so it brings such a space and calmness at the same time, playing into what the tarot wants to say. So I have been using it a lot. A lot of times there were certain colors that were speaking to each other. There were repetition within the shapes or within the color. So then I would be pulling more out of this element of the card. So this is like one of the decks that I've been using. So this is Pathfinder Oracle. And then for the next one is also something that is I didn't use in a long time, and it's one of the older oracles that I have. This is Seed and Sickle. So it also played into this a little bit similarity when it comes to like colors, the palette that is being used within the cards, also giving it a bit more spaciousness. Here is a lot of detail. Here is still quite a bit, but it's much calmer, and it's connecting together. There will be certain colors that will be repeating, or again certain elements or composition that would be speaking to each other. Like here we have this circle going around and then the lion, and here we have also someone closed off with this kind of cyclone tube situation. So those things would very often speak to each other. And then here we have connection to this card via the leaves and the similar colors. So this is something that would work very often with each other very beautifully. So the last deck, which was for me quite an unusual combo, I'm not even sure how I came up with the fact that I'm gonna put them together, but this is now, because I was confused with the tarot, the Dreaming Waves Oracle. So it is again like completely different styles in this context, but something about these guys really love to talk with each other, and this one comes off more sharper, but the Dreaming Waves is bringing this soothing of the water, is giving it some kind of direction, shape. It was really nicely coming together with the keyword that was on the bottom, and something about that really work out. Even though the styles are not really close to each other, there's different feelings about this deck, but I think maybe something about Lubanko tarot that feels so much more fiery, and here we have this water energy that makes it balanced and creates this temperance moment that works even though it feels like it shouldn't, and it creates the story together. So that has been another deck that I work with, and now we are going into the Folkloric Forest Tarot by Lennox, and this is the deck that I not only use for my weekly practice, but also a deck that I took with me on the pilgrimage that I'm doing with women. So maybe once a year, like half a year, we're going for this pilgrimage with a bunch of women. We're together in nature, usually in mountains, hiking and using tarot and working for certain things with this element of sacrifice for our pain and discomfort of walking in the mountains, but also being close with nature and meeting also with our inside world through the tarot and guiding a little bit our journey. Like that is this interesting spiritual experience when you also are in theory alone, because we often work in silence, not always next to each other, and then we would meet and talk through what happened during a day. But then we have also support and space held by women for women. So I usually match my decks that I take for this process to the feeling that I have about this pilgrimage. And now we were going into the mountains that I know well. I know this is a very foresty area, and this forest is really beautiful. So I wanted to touch upon this when I will be taking the deck. So this deck was one used a lot for my own practice, but then also got a use in this pilgrimage, and it talked really beautifully. In my own personal practice, it touched back to the book that I've been reading I've been revisiting Anne of Green Gables, I think it's in English, and its story, and I find it really interesting that I pulled this deck and it was pulling onto the messages of this book that were ringing out for me, and wanted to really talk to this to the story, which I'm not surprised because of its folkloric theme. I feel the story is like stories as a whole is really connected to this deck. And then also in my personal process with meeting on the pilgrimage, it was also really pulling onto its differences from Rider-Waite-Smith with a different naming of things, letting me see completely different side from some of the major arcana and exploring that, but also how differently is portraying certain cards and how what I can pull from that art for myself. And this is also a time when it opens certain process within me, and because we were there completely without our phones, everything was turned off, we were really present with ourselves. I notice how much I'm tired of a lot of noise in my life, and I can see that more and more I'm pulling myself away from watching videos on YouTube, but also like movies, that I'm slowing down with my books, that I have harder time to pick up a lot of information from the outside. I can see, for example, how huge became my list for watch later, when it almost touched 300 videos, which was never a case. So seeing how much I've stepped away from technology, from wanting to be on the different media platforms and getting voices of other people, and how much I have a need to slow down, come to nature, and listen more to my own voice. So this is also something that more influences how I function right now, and that's why this video is also made so late. This is also, I made already some different videos that's never been published because I just could not bring myself to sit in front of the computer and do things with it, because right now it just doesn't feel like what I need, and I just really need this space for myself and this time in nature, and really slowing down a lot. And also my personal like health issues currently are also really showing me that I need to step down a little bit and find my own pace within it, and allow myself to take some time. And I think it also created this moment that it make it really hard for me to do even my tarot practice, because it feels like I put too much information from all the readings that I am doing, and I need less. So that's why for August there are certain changes that I did, that I can still have this practice in certain way, but it's not anymore about collecting on information for myself about my process, because I can see where the work needs to be done, and I don't need more information from tarot from it. But I want to still be able to play with tarot because I do enjoy it. So I did some changes for August, but it's for me really interesting how deep was my work with it. This is a tarot that I also really enjoyed last summer, and then it somehow got put to the side, and I did not pull it out, and now I feel like it's really coming back, especially that I also got the Folkloric water tarot, the new one, and I was already really blown away by it, and also want to use it more now. So I really feel like this is something that speaks to me where I am right now on my journey, and really meets me where I am. And here I wanted to share, I was not able to take a lot of decks with me, as I had to carry everything when I was on the pilgrimage. So at the time I only had Folkloric Forest, but before I went away I did my weekly spread, and I pulled together Oracle of Oddities and Cottage Witch Oracle, and that was absolutely amazing thing. I was blown away by the reading that I got from it, how beautifully they were pulling together the colors, how they were working with each other, and also certain elements repeating within like a vase, in a sense, with the flowers. And yeah, it's the keywords itself, how well they were speaking to each other. So, and that was unusual situation because usually I pick up one oracle that I pair for my weekly reading with the tarot, and here I pull two because it just really felt right, and it really speak together very well, and you can play with it, move it around, and see what new elements of the puzzle gonna open if you move some things around and try to take a look, like what if this card would be over here, what it would be somewhere completely different. And that was really interesting play with all three of them. So in this context, I had a really hard time coming back from my practice, from coming back from pilgrimage. I had a really hard time also landing from this whole process into my reality, into everyday life, and also when you have to suddenly take care of so many things. So I came to the deck that is my old good friend, and this is the deck that I mentioned when talking about Lubanko. So this is Deviant Moon Tarot by Patrick Valenza. This is the deck that when first I got it, it was really hard for me to read with it. Like, in theory, there's so many elements to pull from, but something was always missing me. And then I did enormous study. I have my own guidebook made for this deck out of combination of my own thoughts, but also the big guidebook that exists for Deviant Moon and the small guidebook, and also like this whole process of 78 days. Oh, how it's called? It's this practice that is done every year. It starts, I think, in September till the end of the year, and it's with mindful tarot. I'm gonna put it in the description because right now it escapes my mind how it was called. So there is a specific practice where you're going through the whole deck, one card at a time, and you are finishing on the end of the year, and you're going through it with the system of like definition of the card that we know as traditionally, certain detail on the card and how does it speak with its message. Then it's also there was detail, definition, and day. So how this card is playing into the day that you are looking into it. So that was a practice that I also use it for, and after this moment we have a really good relationship when it comes to reading. I also pull it as this full energy deck, so to minimize a little bit how hard the practice feels on me and how hard it's to come back to the normal routines. I was just pulling a card. I was doing my guidebook study, so this little square that I'm just filling up with the meaning from the guidebook, and I was only using the small white booklet that comes with it. And also I was pulling it as a message how to connect with my archetype of Fool, as I am in a year of Fool, so I'm working with this energy. So it was just like, okay, let's do this one card pull when I'm just playing how differently I can connect with Fool's energy, and like this slowly come back to doing my practice. And that's something that really worked. I was not pairing this deck with anything in this time. I wanted just something very minimal, very bare bones, just so I can find my own footing and land back into reality from something that was a really big process in this month. And also because of that feeling of like a lot of noise and feeling of really that there is too much of everything around me, I started like another round of cleaning up my space, reducing the things that I have around, also reducing the certain decks. Some of them I'm really surprised that I'm just like ready to let go of. It just feels right. So I can feel more and more that like my spiritual path and what is important for me and where I am on my journey really changed a lot compared to where I was when I was starting with tarot like 6 years ago. And of course, this is sensible. This is like a lot of time, that passed that changes a lot. And I can see like how something that used to be really a part of my practice, really strongly rooted in how I work, now it does not really meet me where I am currently. And in my process of the pilgrimage, we had this moment of doing ritual connected to compose. So composing certain parts of ourselves that we want to lay down and let go of them. And something that I lay down in this process was old versions of myself that I still keep around, even though they do not bring anything anymore to my current self. And that, on the other hand, they are making me all the time compare with myself, with what I could do, what I was doing, how was my life in those old versions. But it doesn't really do anything for current me. It just makes me miserable because I'm like, oh, I used to do that, but now I cannot do that. It doesn't serve me, so I wanted to let go of those things. And I think this ritual moved into my reality, into really feeling like I need to clean out space around and find peace and let go of those things that maybe I would say, oh, this is for sure my forever deck those 4 years ago, and suddenly it's not. And it also appeared a little bit in the discussion because I've seen here and there popping the videos with the tag forever decks, I think. And I just realized that I cannot name one because I just know that there might be a situation that things change so much that I'm just gonna be like, now I'm ready to let go of this deck because it doesn't really correspond with what I need. And if I'm trying to say something like, oh yeah, this is it, like this is what it is, when I state something with such a strong opinion and like then the life really proves me that this is not. So straight away it shows me that things work differently, that there is different side to it. So I would not be able to name the decks that would be my forever decks. And I think this is fine because it allows me the space of being fine with the things it was in my life, it worked for me, and now I can move it on and someone else can enjoy it and someone else can find pleasure in using those things. Because for me, beside the fact that I love the art and exploration of the art within tarot, it's still a tool, and if I cannot use it well as a tool, then it becomes like a clutter on my mind, and this is not something that I want really around. So I think the summertime in general is quite always hard time for me when it comes to my practice. I can see that I'm using decks much less, that I have harder time sitting with my practices because of how environment is changing. So I have to do things in the garden. There is certain travels, other activities that are not maybe available in winter time. So I can see the decline in my practice, but I want to make sure that I still have something of this routine, as it's really good for me to have something that I can fall back and feel that I am being held by certain thing. So I'm really grateful for this practice because it also shows me different sides of my decks and shows to me that maybe something that I would just grab into my hands and say, oh yeah, this is my favorite, it's staying, but I don't use it then until I really try to and like start working with it and seeing that we are already missing our paths. It really opens the space for really dialogue with myself. What is really my practice right now? What is it that I truly need in my toolbox? And what do I want to keep? And what is truly me? And what might be still some old version of myself that I'm holding on to? So thank you for being here today, and see you in the August video for more, maybe in some other video if I finally manage to break through my inability to do anything on the computer. See you, bye. See you, bye.